I just gave her a French fry. Now she growls whenever anyone comes near me. Jace Morgan pinched a steaming fry from the bright red box in front of him, but before he could take a bite, he heard a strange growl. Turning around, he saw a blue-furred, orange-eyed alien girl rushing toward him, but only to protect him. The Xeno Bazaar on Proxima Station buzzed with activity on this busy Tuesday afternoon. Fluorescent lights streamed through the glass ceiling, creating an artificial day-after-day feeling on the station. Vendors hawked their exotic wares, while beings from dozens of species navigated the crowded pathways. The air was thick with the scent of spices and the sounds of multi-layered, polyrhythmic music. Jace, a human contractor in his late 20s with shaggy brown hair and a sturdy build, wore a moss-green t-shirt under a utility vest with numerous pockets. He moved through the bazaar with purpose, making his way to a Danabian vendor known for selling those rare, Earth-authentic French fries. A small taste of home amid the bizarre offerings of the interstellar marketplace. Our fries are so good. They're nearly illegal out here, the Danabian vendor chirped, his translucent fingers dancing as he scooped the golden strips into a red container. Real potatoes, not vat-grown. Cost me 3 times the shipping to get them past customs. Worth every credit, Jace replied, inhaling the familiar scent of salt and oil that reminded him of Earth. Finding a spot near a decorative fountain, Jace settled down to enjoy his rare treat. The sound of water provided a soothing counterpoint to the cacophony of the bazaar. As he savored his first fry, he noticed a Philidian, a humanoid with blue fur and striking orange eyes, watching him from several meters away. The intensity of her gaze was unmistakable. There was hunger in those eyes. On impulse, Jace held out the box. Would you like to try one? The Philidian approached cautiously, her movements fluid and graceful. She reached out with slender fingers, carefully taking a single fry. She chewed slowly, her eyes closing momentarily before she gave a half-purr, half-hiss of approval. Just then, a large Taurian accidentally bumped into Jace, nearly causing him to drop his box. Before Jace could react, the Philidian growled, a sound so primal and threatening that it cut through the bazaar's noise. She leaped forward, fur bristling, positioning herself between Jace and the startled Taurian, who backed away with hands raised in submission. Sorry, but he just bumped into me, Jace said, bewildered by the Philidian's reaction. The Philidian's gaze remained fixed on the retreating Taurian, before turning to Jace. By Philidian law, I have accepted your kindness, she explained, her voice carrying a melodic accent. I must guard your life until the debt is repaid. What debt? I just offered you a fry, Jace protested, struggling to understand. When I ate, that food saved me from hunger. You have fed me. I must protect you, she stated, with unwavering certainty. Look, I didn't ask you to protect me. I just shared some fries. Jace tried to reason, feeling increasingly uncomfortable as other bazaar patrons began to stare. The Philidian shook her head. When you fed me, that food rescued me from hunger. Thus, you nourished me. I must guard you. Realizing this cultural misunderstanding wasn't going to be resolved easily, Jace decided to seek help. Come with me, he said, standing up and gesturing for the Philidian to follow. There's a translation kiosk nearby that might help us communicate better. They made their way to a small booth operated by a six-eyed Vexillian, who flinched when the Philidian growled softly at his sudden movement. I need a universal translator for Philidian, Jace explained, placing his payment on the counter. The Vexillian slid a small device across the surface, careful to avoid any sudden movements that might trigger another growl. This will translate for you, Jace explained, holding up the neural link disk. It'll help you understand what I'm saying. The Philidian allowed Jace to place the device against the back of her ear. Her eyes widened as the translator activated, and she tilted her head in surprise. Human speech, like magic, she said, her words now perfectly understandable to Jace, My name is Jace Morgan. I'm a contractor. I transport cargo between star systems. And you are? Kira of the Night Shadow Pride. Hunter class. Rank 3, she replied with formal precision. Was, a warrior. Was? Jace asked, now curious despite his frustration. I refused an order that violated our honor code. My pride exiled me, she explained, her orange eyes dimming slightly. I have wandered since, taking odd jobs where I can. And now you've decided to be my bodyguard because of a French fry, Jace said with a sigh. Not decided. Bound. The life debt must be honored until repaid, Kira insisted. I will remain by your side until that happens. How exactly is this debt repaid? Jace asked, seeing a potential exit strategy. When I save your life in equal measure to how you saved mine, she answered solemnly. Jace ran a hand through his hair. So I gave you food, which supposedly saved you from hunger. And now you need to save me from something. This is ridiculous. As they spoke, 2 security officers in the distinctive blue-gray uniforms of Proxima Station approached, scanning the crowd with practiced efficiency. Damn, Jace muttered, turning away slightly. Security sweep. I'm carrying some restricted tech components for a delivery. Nothing dangerous, but definitely not approved for transport through Proxima. Kira's posture changed instantly, her muscles tensing as she assessed the situation. Follow me, she whispered, taking Jace's arm and guiding him smoothly through the crowd. The security officers noticed their movement and started to follow. Stop! Station security! One called out. Get me out of here, Jace urged. Without hesitation, Kira pulled him down a narrow service corridor, then through a maintenance hatch that Jace would have missed entirely. They entered a maze of utility tunnels, the lighting dim, and the air thick with the smell of machinery and recycled atmosphere. How do you know your way around these tunnels? Jace asked, as they navigated the labyrinth. I memorized station schematics when I first arrived, Kira explained. Knowledge of terrain is essential for survival. After several minutes of navigating through increasingly narrow passages, they emerged in a quiet residential sector, far from the bazaar. The security alert hadn't spread this far yet. That was impressive, Jace admitted, catching his breath. Thank you. Kira simply nodded, her eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. I must protect you, even from minor threats. I remain by your side. Jace's comm unit chimed, and he checked the message. Job offer. Delivery from Dock 17, Storage 342, to Helios Colony. 48-hour deadline. Double the usual rate. He frowned. That's unusually generous. Is that suspicious? Kira asked. Very. But the money's too good to pass up, Jace replied, already calculating the profit margin. I need to check it out. As they approached Storage 342, Kira's fur bristled. Something's wrong, she whispered. 3 men lurking nearby. I smell weapons. Jace paused, trusting her instincts. Are you sure? My senses don't lie. They're waiting for someone. For you. I think. Let's approach carefully then, Jace suggested, reaching into his vest to palm a small stunner he kept for emergencies. When they reached Storage 342, Jace scanned his credentials, and the door slid open. The interior was dimly lit with blue-tinted emergency lighting. As they stepped inside, 3 figures emerged from behind cargo containers, weapons drawn. Jace Morgan, the leader said with a cold smile. The package is now in our possession. Before Jace could respond, Kira sprang into action. She moved with astonishing speed, a blur of blue fur and deadly precision. The first attacker went down with a savage strike to the throat. The second managed to fire his shock pistol, but Kira dodged the bolt with inhuman reflexes, closing the distance and disabling him with a series of devastating blows. The third attacker, seeing his companions dispatched so efficiently, attempted to flee, but Kira caught him at the doorway, pinning him against the wall with one clawed hand. Who sent you? Jace demanded, approaching the terrified man. "The director," the man gasped, his eyes fixed on Kira's claws. "We were supposed to frame you for possession of bioweapons." Jace's blood ran cold. "What bioweapons?" "The package. It contains a biological agent and a blue vial. We were ordered to plant it in your possession, then alert station security." Jace searched the storage unit and found the package in question. Opening it carefully, he discovered the biological device and the ominous blue vial, just as described. "Who is this director? Why target me?" "I don't know," the man insisted. "We just follow orders. The director handles everything through intermediaries." "If you or your boss comes after me again," Jace warned, "it won't end well. Tell the director to leave me alone." After disabling the bioweapon and confiscating the attacker's weapons, Jace and Kira left the storage unit, the would-be saboteurs nursing their injuries behind them. "That was impressive," Jace admitted, as they walked briskly away from the scene. "Where did you learn to fight like that?" "All Philidian warriors trained from childhood," Kira explained. "The Night Shadow Pride specializes in stealth and quick neutralization." "Well, I think you just repaid your life debt," Jace said hopefully. "You definitely saved me back there." Kira shook her head. "The threat was not immediate death. The debt remains." Jace sighed. "Of course it does." They made their way to the docking bay, where Jace's ship, the Starbound, was moored. A mid-sized cargo vessel with sleek lines and a few custom modifications that weren't listed in any registry. "We need to leave Proxima," Jace decided. "Someone called the director wants me framed for terrorism. That's not the kind of trouble you wait around for." As they approached the Starbound, Jace remotely accessed the ship's AI for a systems check. The AI's response was immediate and concerning. "Warning: unauthorized modifications detected in propulsion and navigation systems." "Someone's tampered with my ship," Jace muttered, accelerating his pace. Once on board, he conducted a thorough scan, discovering several sabotage devices attached to critical systems. "They were thorough," he commented, as he disabled the last of the devices. "Wanted to make sure I wouldn't get far if I managed to escape their little trap." Kira prowled the ship's interior, familiarizing herself with the layout. "Your vessel is well maintained," she observed. "Smaller than I expected." "It suits my needs," Jace replied, settling into the pilot's seat and initiating the launch sequence. "Fast, reliable, and doesn't draw too much attention." As the Starbound detached from its docking clamp and maneuvered away from the station, two security vessels moved to intercept. "Attention, Starbound. This is Proxima Security. Return to dock immediately for inspection." "Not happening," Jace muttered, increasing thrust. "Kira, can you handle the countermeasures console? We need to jam their tracking systems." Kira took the co-pilot's seat, quickly understanding the control layout. With impressive adaptability, she activated the ship's electronic countermeasures, creating false sensor readings that suggested a technical malfunction. "Mimicking propulsion failure," she explained. "They'll think we're drifting." The security vessels hesitated, their pilots confused by the contradictory sensor data. Jace seized the opportunity, activating the FTL drive. The stars stretched into lines of light, and Proxima Station vanished behind them. "Where are we going?" Kira asked once they were safely in FTL. "Europa," Jace replied. "I have a contact there, Dr. Eleanor Charleston. She runs a research station studying advanced propulsion systems. If anyone can help us figure out who this director is and why they're after me, it's her." "You trust this human?" "She's not human. She's Arcturian. And yes, I trust her. She owes me a favor after I smuggled some restricted tech to her last year. The journey to Europa would take several hours. Even with FTL, Jace used the time to perform maintenance on the ship's systems, ensuring the sabotage hadn't caused any lasting damage. Kira, meanwhile, explored the Starbound, moving with quiet grace through the cargo hold, living quarters, and engine room. Jace found her in the galley, examining the food synthesizer with obvious curiosity. "It doesn't make very good fries," he commented, startling her slightly. "Nothing like the real thing." "Your world has many strange technologies," she observed. "On my homeworld, we hunt for our food." "Earth isn't my world anymore," Jace said, a hint of bitterness in his voice. "I haven't been back in 7 years." "Why not?" Jace hesitated, unaccustomed to sharing personal details. "Long story. Let's just say Earth and I had a disagreement about what constitutes legal trade practices." Before Kira could respond, the ship's communication system chimed. An urgent message was coming through on an encrypted channel. "Jace, it's Charleston," came a voice tinged with anxiety. "We have a situation at the research station, signs of data theft, and there's a cooling system bomb set to detonate. The entire facility could go up. I think it's connected to that data crystal you delivered last month. Get here fast if you can." "We're already on our way," Jace replied. "ETA 3 hours? Can you hold out?" "The cooling system is failing gradually. We've evacuated non-essential personnel, but someone needs to manually override the sabotage. I can't trust anyone here. There might be an insider." "Understood. Starbound out." Jace turned to Kira. "Looks like we're walking into another trap." "Or an opportunity to repay the life debt," she suggested, orange eyes gleaming. When they arrived at Europa, the research station was already in a state of emergency. Red warning lights flashed throughout the docking bay, and the handful of staff who greeted them wore expressions of barely contained panic. "The situation has deteriorated," a harried technician explained, as they rushed through the station's corridors. "Cooling system pressure is reaching critical levels. Dr. Charleston is in Sector 7, trying to contain the damage." Sector 7 housed the station's primary cooling systems, essential for managing the extreme heat generated by the experimental propulsion research. Without it, the entire facility would overheat and explode, potentially cracking Europa's icy crust and causing a catastrophic breach. "We need emergency access to Sector 7, Jace told the technician. "It's sealed for safety, but Dr. Charleston left instructions to give you this," the technician replied, handing over an access card. "It's a master override." The corridor leading to Sector 7 was already uncomfortably hot, steam hissing from joints in the wall panels. Warning klaxons blared, and automated systems announced evacuation procedures in multiple languages. Using the master override, Jace unlocked the heavy steel doors to Sector 7. Inside, chaos reigned. Sparks flew from damaged control panels, and the air was thick with heat and the acrid smell of electrical fires. 2 figures were hunched over a central console, frantically manipulating controls. "Charleston," Jace called out. The figures spun around, and Jace immediately recognized they weren't station personnel. They wore unmarked black environment suits, and both reached for weapons at the sight of the newcomers. Kira moved with lightning speed. She closed the distance before the saboteurs could fire, her attacks precise and devastating. The first went down with a crushing blow to the sternum, while the second managed to fire a shot that went wide before Kira disarmed him with a savage twist that left his arm hanging uselessly at his side. "Who sent you?" Jace demanded, grabbing the conscious saboteur by his collar. "The director." The man gasped through his pain. "Blackwood wants this facility destroyed, and you blamed for it." "Blackwood, as in Naomi Blackwood." The name was familiar. A former Earth intelligence operative who now ran Sentinel Dynamics, a private security firm with questionable ethics. The saboteur's eyes widened in surprise, confirming Jace's guess. But there was no time for further interrogation. The cooling system's control panel was flashing urgent warnings. 2 minutes until catastrophic failure. "We need to manually override the emergency coolant valve," Jace said, examining the system. "It's been physically tampered with." Across the room stood a massive emergency valve wheel that required significant strength to turn. As they approached, Scalding steam erupted from the surrounding pipes. Kira began to turn the wheel, her muscles straining against the resistance. Jace joined her, adding his strength to the effort. The wheel moved incrementally, hot steam blasting around them as pressure released through the system. Warning indicators continued to climb, then gradually slowed as the manual override took effect. With a final surge of effort, they completed the rotation, locking the valve in place. The emergency lights shifted from critical red to a cautionary amber, and the automated warnings ceased. Jace and Kira leaned against the cool metal wall, catching their breath as security personnel flooded the room, securing the saboteurs. Dr. Eleanor Charleston rushed in moments later, her tall Arcturian frame moving with urgent purpose. "Jace, the entire station would have been destroyed if you hadn't arrived in time." "Good thing we were already on our way," Jace replied, wiping sweat from his brow. "These two were sent by Naomi Blackwood, the director. Mean anything to you?" Charleston's expression darkened. "Sentinel Dynamics has been trying to acquire our research for months. We refused their partnership offers. It seems Blackwood decided to take a more direct approach. And frame me in the process," Jace added grimly. "First the bioweapon on Proxima. Now this. She's determined to paint me as a terrorist." "The data crystal you delivered last month," Charleston explained. "It contained breakthrough algorithms for our new drive system. If Sentinel got their hands on it, they'd have a monopoly on the fastest propulsion technology in 17 systems. "That explains why they're after me," Jay said. "I unknowingly transported something valuable, and now I'm a loose end." With the immediate crisis averted, station security took statements from Jace and Kira, along with the captured saboteurs. The evidence against Naomi Blackwood mounted quickly, her operatives' confessions, combined with communication records and financial transactions, created a damning picture. "Europa Research Station officially recognizes your heroic actions," Charleston announced in a small ceremony the following day. "Without your intervention, we would have lost everything: research, facilities, and lives." Jace accepted the commendation awkwardly, unused to public recognition. Kira stood beside him, her posture formal, but her orange eyes gleaming with quiet pride. Later, as they prepared to depart, Kira approached Jace in the Starbound's cargo bay, her expression unusually hesitant. "According to Philidian tradition," she said carefully, "when your life is saved, the life debt is repaid. I am free." Jace felt an unexpected pang at her words. "So the debt is complete. You saved me. My life counts as repaid." Kira nodded, but made no move to leave. "So, where should I go now?" Jace smiled slowly. "You don't have to go anywhere, if you don't want to. I'd hate to lose you." The look they shared was filled with unspoken emotion. But before either could elaborate, the ship's AI announced that pre-flight checks were complete. The Starbound detached from Europa Station, its course yet undetermined. In the cockpit, Jace and Kira shared a box of French fries, real ones, courtesy of Dr. Charleston's private Earth imports. "Earth fries. Better than I imagined," Kira said with a small smile, her orange eyes sparkling. Jace leaned against her shoulder. "We can go anywhere, as long as there are fries." He activated the navigation display. "The Starbound's well armed, fast enough to outrun most trouble. The universe is wide open. Where would you like to go?" Kira's smile widened, her expression filled with anticipation. "We learn to understand each other, build a future, not just a life debt anymore." A small life debt had transformed two lives, one human, one alien. From misunderstanding and conflict to standing shoulder to shoulder, their open-ended journey promised a new beginning, partnership, perhaps love, between two different cultures. Jace punched in coordinates for their next destination, and the Starbound leaped into FTL, carrying them toward adventures unknown. But their path forward wouldn't be without obstacles. Though Naomi Blackwood's immediate plans had been thwarted, Sentinel Dynamics had resources throughout the 17-system alliance. The director wasn't one to accept defeat gracefully, and reports were already coming in of bounty hunters asking questions about a human contractor and his Philidian companion. "We should find someplace to lay low for a while," Jace suggested, as they reviewed the latest intelligence from Charleston's contacts. "Let the heat die down." "Or we could confront the threat directly," Kira countered, her hunter instincts favoring a more aggressive approach. "Strike at Blackwood before she can reorganize." Their debate was interrupted by an incoming transmission. A message bounced through multiple relays to hide its origin. The face that appeared on the screen belonged to a sharp-featured woman with silver-streaked black hair and calculating eyes. "Mr. Morgan," she said without preamble. "I'm Alara Voss. I have information about Naomi Blackwood that you might find valuable." "And what's your interest in this?" Jace asked, immediately suspicious. "Let's just say Blackwood and I have history, and I'd prefer to see her ambitions curtailed. Meet me at Club Paradox on Ganymede in 12 hours, if you want to know more." The transmission ended abruptly. "Trap?" Kira asked. Her orange eyes narrowed. "Possibly," Jace admitted. "But Voss is a known information broker with connections throughout the intelligence community. If anyone has dirt on Blackwood, it would be her." "We go, but cautiously," Kira decided. "I will not let harm come to you." Club Paradox lived up to its name, a high-end establishment where artificial gravity fluctuated in different zones, allowing patrons to dance and socialize while floating weightlessly. The clientele was exclusive: politicians, corporate executives, intelligence operatives, and the occasional high-class criminal. Jace and Kira entered separately, Jace in formal attire that helped him blend with the wealthy patrons, while Kira, her blue fur making anonymity impossible, positioned herself as a seemingly unrelated visitor at the bar. Alara Voss was waiting in a private booth, a glass of iridescent liquid untouched before her. She nodded as Jace approached, her eyes flicking briefly to Kira at the bar. "Your Philidian friend isn't very subtle," she commented as Jace sat down. "The blue fur stands out." "She's not trying to be invisible," Jace replied. "Just separate from me. What do you have on Blackwood?" Voss produced a small data chip. "Everything you need to know about Operation Eclipse, Blackwood's plan to monopolize next-generation propulsion technology. She's not just after the Europa research. She's systematically eliminating or absorbing every competing project in 3 sectors." "And what do you want in return for this information?" Jace asked, making no move to take the chip. "Insurance," Voss answered with a thin smile. "If you succeed in exposing Blackwood, I want exclusive rights to break the story. My byline, my narrative." "You're a journalist?" "Among other things. Information is currency. Morgan, I just prefer to spend mine in the public arena." Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion at the bar. Kira had positioned herself between Jace and 3 newcomers who had entered the club, men in nondescript clothing with the telltale bulges of concealed weapons. "We have company," Jace muttered, sliding out of the booth. "Blackwood's people?" Voss glanced at the men and cursed softly. "Yes. And if they're here, the place is probably surrounded. We need to leave. Now." She pressed the data chip into Jace's hand. "Back entrance, through the kitchen. There's a service elevator to the lower levels. Get to docking bay 12. I have a shuttle there." "What about you?" "I have my own exit strategy. Go." Jace moved swiftly toward Kira, who was already bristling with tension, her claws half extended as she tracked the armed men. The moment Jace reached her, she positioned herself protectively in front of him. "We need to move," he whispered. "Kitchen exit." One of the men spotted them and raised his wrist to his mouth, speaking urgently into a comm unit. Immediately, the other 2 began converging on their position. "No time for subtlety," Kira growled, and launched herself at the nearest attacker. The club erupted into chaos as patrons scrambled to get away from the sudden violence. Kira moved with lethal grace, disabling one man with a precise strike to the throat, then spinning to kick the legs out from under the second. The third drew a weapon, but Jace was ready, using the stunner he'd palmed earlier to drop the man before he could fire. "Kitchen! Now!" Jace urged, grabbing Kira's arm and pulling her toward the back of the club. They burst through the swinging doors into the kitchen, startling the staff. "Service elevator!" Jace called out, scanning the room. A chef pointed wordlessly to a narrow corridor, and they raced toward it, hearing the sounds of pursuit behind them. The elevator was ancient and slow, but it carried them down to the maintenance level, where the air was thick with the smell of machinery and recycled water. "Docking Bay 12, Jace reminded Kira as they navigated the dimly lit corridors. "Voss said she has a shuttle there." More of Blackwood's operatives were waiting at the entrance to the docking bay, 4 armed guards in tactical gear. Kira assessed the situation with a hunter's eye. "I'll draw them away," she decided. "You get to the shuttle." Before Jace could protest, she darted down a side corridor, deliberately making enough noise to attract attention. 3 of the guards immediately gave chase, leaving just 1 at the docking bay entrance. Jace approached cautiously, then used a fallen pipe as an improvised weapon, striking the guard from behind with enough force to render him unconscious. He dragged the body out of sight, then accessed the docking bay controls. Inside Bay 12, a sleek shuttle waited, its engines already in pre-flight mode. Jace quickly checked for tracking devices or sabotage, finding none. "Come on, Kira," he muttered, watching the entrance anxiously. Minutes passed with no sign of her, and Jace was beginning to fear the worst when an access panel in the ceiling abruptly opened, and Kira dropped gracefully to the floor. "Maintenance shafts," she explained, seeing his surprised expression. The hunters became the hunted. "Are they unconscious? Not dead," she assured him, "though they may wish otherwise when they wake." They boarded the shuttle, and Jace quickly familiarized himself with the controls. It was a high-end model with impressive speed and maneuverability, exactly what they needed to escape Ganymede's security net. As they lifted off, the docking bay doors began to close, an automated response to an unauthorized launch. Jace pushed the throttle to maximum, and the shuttle shot forward, barely clearing the narrowing gap. Once clear of Ganymede's gravity well, Jace set course for a small asteroid mining outpost, where they could lay low and examine Voss's data. "The information better be worth the trouble," he commented, as they left Jupiter's orbit behind. In the relative safety of the mining outpost, they reviewed the contents of Voss's data chip. It contained detailed intelligence on Sentinel Dynamics operations, Blackwood's network of operatives, and, most importantly, evidence of corporate espionage, sabotage, and attempted murder, all linked directly to Naomi Blackwood herself. "This is enough to destroy her," Jace said, scrolling through the files. "If we can get it to the right authorities." "The right authorities may be compromised," Kira pointed out. "Blackwood has influence in multiple systems." "Then we go public. Voss wanted exclusive rights to the story. Let's give it to her." "And make ourselves even bigger targets?" Jace considered this. "We need leverage. Something Blackwood wants badly enough that she'll back off to get it." Their discussion was interrupted by an alert from the outpost's communication system. An encrypted message was coming through on a frequency few people knew Jace used. The message was from Moran, a Taurian information dealer Jace had worked with in the past. "Morgan, word is the director has put a bounty on your head. 2 million credits, dead or alive. Whatever you did to piss off Blackwood, it must have been impressive. Stay hidden. I'll be in touch if I learn more." 2 million, Jace whistled. "That'll bring out every bounty hunter and mercenary in 3 sectors. We cannot hide forever," Kira observed. "We must confront this threat." "Agreed. But first, we need to understand exactly what Blackwood is after." Jace returned to the data, focusing on the information about Europa's research. According to this, the propulsion technology Charleston's team is developing would revolutionize interstellar travel, cutting journey times by 60% while using 40% less fuel. A significant advantage for whoever controls it, Kira noted. And Blackwood wants exclusive control. She's been systematically eliminating competition, buying out some research teams, sabotaging others. Europa's team was the most advanced and the most resistant to her offers. So she decided to destroy their research and blame you, Kira concluded. But why target you specifically? Jace frowned, thinking back. The data crystal I delivered to Charleston last month. It must have contained critical algorithms for the new drive system. Blackwood probably traced it to me and decided I knew too much, or could potentially expose her if captured. How do we use this knowledge against her? We don't just have knowledge, Jace said, holding up the data chip. We have evidence, enough to destroy her reputation and her company if it became public. That's our leverage. They sent a heavily encrypted message to Voss, arranging to meet her at a neutral location to discuss terms for releasing the information. Her response was immediate and alarming. Blackwood knows I helped you. My covers are blown. Can't make contact in person. Releasing data to select outlets in 12 hours unless stopped. Good luck. She's going to publish everything, Jace realized. Once this goes public, Blackwood will have nothing to lose by coming after us with everything she has. Then we must strike first, Kira decided. Take the fight to her. Sentinel Dynamics headquarters was located on Ceres, housed in a massive structure that dominated the dwarf planet's largest settlement. Security was tight. Automated defense systems, armed guards, and sophisticated surveillance made a direct approach impossible. We need another way in, Jace said as they observed the facility from a safe distance. Their opportunity came in the form of a scheduled inspection by the Interplanetary Commerce Commission, a routine review of Sentinel's operations to ensure compliance with regulations. Using Voss's data, they were able to forge credentials that identified them as special consultants to the ICC team. The ruse got them through the initial security checkpoint, but they knew it wouldn't hold up to close scrutiny. They had perhaps 30 minutes before someone noticed the discrepancy and sounded the alarm. Blackwood's private office is on the top floor, Jace whispered as they rode the elevator upward. That's where we'll find the master servers with her operational files. And Blackwood herself? Kira asked. According to the schedule, she's in a board meeting for another hour. We should be able to access the servers and get out before she returns. The elevator doors opened onto a luxurious executive floor. 2 security guards stood outside Blackwood's office, their posture alert and professional. ICC inspection, Jace announced, displaying his forged credentials. We need access to Director Blackwood's office to verify compliance with data security protocols. The guards exchanged glances. We weren't informed of an inspection of the executive level, one said suspiciously. It was added to the schedule this morning, Jace replied smoothly. If you'd prefer, we can note in our report that you obstructed the inspection. I'm sure Director Blackwood would understand. The implied threat worked. The guards stepped aside, allowing them to enter the office. Once inside, Jace quickly located the access terminal for Sentinel's secure servers. Keep watch, he told Kira, as he began bypassing the security protocols. Let me know the moment anyone approaches. Using techniques learned from years of dealing with restrictive systems, Jace penetrated the network's defenses, locating the files that documented Blackwood's illegal operations. He copied everything to a secure data drive, then planted a virus that would activate when Voss's story broke, releasing the most damning evidence directly to law enforcement agencies throughout the system. Someone's coming, Kira warned, her sensitive hearing picking up approaching footsteps. Multiple people. Time to go, Jace said, disconnecting from the terminal. Is there another exit? Kira pointed to a private elevator at the back of the office. That must connect to a secure exit route. They entered the elevator just as the office door opened. The elevator descended rapidly, opening onto a private hangar containing a sleek executive shuttle. Blackwood's personal transport, Jace realized. Perfect. They boarded the shuttle, and Jace quickly overrode the security lockouts. As the hangar doors began to open, alarms blared throughout the facility. "They've discovered the breach," Kira observed calmly, strapping herself into the co-pilot seat. "Then let's not overstay our welcome," Jace replied, engaging the shuttle's engines. They shot out of the hangar, immediately targeted by Sentinel's defense systems. Automated turrets tracked their flight path, firing warning shots that Jace deftly avoided. "Sending the data to Voss now," he said, initiating the transmission. "Once she publishes this, Blackwood is finished." As they cleared Ceres gravity well, multiple pursuit craft launched from Sentinel's hangars. The executive shuttle was fast, but not designed for combat maneuvers. "We can't outrun them for long," Jace admitted, pushing the engines to their limits. "We need somewhere to hide until Voss breaks the story." "The asteroid belt," Kira suggested. "Millions of places to conceal ourselves." Jace nodded, altering course toward the dense field of asteroids that orbited between Mars and Jupiter. The pursuit craft followed, their weapon systems now fully engaged. The first shots struck the shuttle's rear shields, causing the cabin to shudder violently. Warning indicators flashed across the control panel. "Shields at 60% and dropping," Jace reported grimly. "We won't survive many more direct hits." They plunged into the asteroid belt, weaving between massive rocks and fields of dangerous debris. The pursuit craft followed, more cautiously now, as the pilots navigated the hazardous environment. "There," Kira pointed to a particularly large asteroid with deep craters and crevices. "We can lose them in those shadows." Jace guided the shuttle into a narrow canyon that cut across the asteroid's surface. The pursuit craft now reduced to distant blips on the radar. They settled into a deep crater, powering down all non-essential systems to minimize their signature. "Now we wait," Jace said, checking the shuttle's communication system. "Voss should be breaking the story within the hour." The minutes ticked by in tense silence, both of them watching the scanner for signs of pursuit. Eventually, Jace's comm unit chimed, a message from Voss. "It's done. Story is live across all major networks. Blackwood is being called in for questioning by authorities on 3 planets. Your evidence was the final nail in her coffin. Consider your debt to me paid in full." Relief washed over Jace. "It worked. Blackwood's finished." The scanner suddenly lit up with multiple contacts. Not pursuit craft from Sentinel, but official vessels from the Interplanetary Police Force. "This is IPF Commander Ryzen to unidentified shuttle. We've tracked your transmission. Identify yourselves and state your intentions." Jace opened a channel. "This is Jace Morgan. I'm the one who provided the evidence against Naomi Blackwood. We're surrendering to IPF custody and requesting protection." Within hours, they were aboard the IPF flagship, giving formal statements about Blackwood's operations and their involvement in exposing her crimes. The evidence was overwhelming, and Naomi Blackwood was taken into custody as her empire crumbled around her. "The 17 System Alliance owes you a debt of gratitude," Commander Ryzen told them after their debriefing. "Blackwood's monopoly would have set interstellar travel back decades. All charges against you have been dropped. Morgan, you're free to go." Once they were alone in their assigned quarters aboard the IPF vessel, Kira turned to Jace with an uncharacteristically hesitant expression. "By Philidian tradition, when your life is saved, the life debt is repaid," she said softly. "I am free." "Life debt complete," Jace agreed, feeling a strange emptiness at the thought of their partnership ending. "You saved me. My life is repaid." Kira nodded, but made no move to leave. "So, where should I go now?" Jace smiled, reaching for her hand. "You don't have to go anywhere, if you don't want to. I'd hate to lose you." Their eyes met, a moment of understanding passing between them that needed no words. Later, as they prepared to return to the Starbound, repaired and waiting for them at an IPF facility, Dr. Charleston contacted them with news. "The Europa team sends their thanks," she told them via holographic communication. With Blackwood's interference eliminated, we've made remarkable progress on the drive system. The first commercial version should be available within a year. Save one for the Starbound, Jace requested with a grin. Already done, Charleston assured him. Consider it payment for services rendered. Aboard the Starbound once more. Jace and Kira stood in the cockpit, contemplating their next move. The galaxy lay open before them, free of the shadow that had been hunting them. "Where to?" Jace asked, bringing up the navigation display. In the galley behind them, a fresh box of French fries, real ones, courtesy of Charleston, waited to be shared. Kira smiled, her orange eyes bright with anticipation. Anywhere. We learn to understand each other, build a future, not just a life debt anymore. Jace programmed a course into the navigation computer, and the Starbound leaped into FTL, carrying them toward adventures yet to come. In the quiet of hyperspace, they shared the box of fries that had started it all, a simple act of kindness that had changed both their lives forever. "Earth fries, better than I imagined," Kira said, savoring the taste. Jace leaned against her shoulder. "We can go anywhere, as long as there are fries." Their laughter mingled in the cockpit as the stars streaked by outside, a universe of possibilities before them,